if you're able to find them. If you're out there, oh, requested to speak.
I'll invite him to the stage.
Fantastic.
Oh, hello.
Hi, good morning, guys.
How should we say your name?
You were right the first time. Taha.
Taha.
Yes.
Okay. Well, hello, Taha. Thanks for being here today. If you can go ahead and share some quick insight about who you are. Some things we're looking about is to understand maybe a little bit about like what type of designer you are, what market you're looking at, specialties you have, anything that might set you apart from others, and then some of your goals. Like if you're trying to get hired, trying to be discovered organically, networking, freelance, full time, uh, enterprise maybe, or small, all that kind of stuff, so we can, be really relevant.
Sure. Thank you for having me here, first of all. My name is Taha Nakri. I am completing my master's in human computer interaction from DePaul. I'm currently based in LA. I just moved out here, and I'll be graduating in April. So I'm looking at a full time opportunity by then, or close, or before that. And currently, I work part time as a UX designer in my student led, I won't say student led, but university affiliated organization. So I have about 1 year of experience as a UI UX designer. But professionally, before the master's degree, I was a graphic designer for about 3 years. And then I pivoted to UI UX because I wanted to get a bit more on the why of the design rather than just the visuals to understand the human aspect of it. So ETSIA was like a degree that I wanted to learn and be a UX designer too. My goal would be, like I mentioned, I'm graduating in April, so I would like a full-time opportunity. Um, I wouldn't bound myself to an industry or be like I can only design for web, I can only design for mobile. I want to be a general designer at this stage of my career as a starting point, because I do work as a part-time student, but I'm not getting that experience that I want uh, compared to like a full-time opportunity. So that's my goal, to be somewhat in the industry as a general designer at an entry level, then slowly work myself to be a UX or a product designer overall.
A lot of good
Hope that.
background there. Hey, let me ask you, do you have any
Uh,
desire for freelance?
Um, that is one of my goals as well. After I would say 2 years or 1 year, that I want to be a freelancer because I was a freelance graphic designer before joining my master's program.
Hmm.
But I want to understand how the industry works when it comes to UI UX and the UX industry. Then probably I'll start doing freelance.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, when you mentioned your goal is generalistic design, love that mindset. I love that you have an inclination on the focus that you want to move forward with. I consider myself more generalistic. One of the things that comes to mind, well, there's two things that come to mind. One is working with an agency where your clientele would constantly rotate, but then potentially two is freelance. And then there's a third thing that Tim can potentially speak to more, which is fractional design, potentially also a direction that could be considered. But I appreciate the all the feedback you've given us so far. You've enabled us to really narrow down what to look at here.
Awesome.
Also, congratulations on graduating in 4 months from now. That's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, that's not a small thing. That is a lot of work.
Yeah, it's a scary feeling for right now. I don't have a job right now, but hopefully something would come up.
We all of our hopes go with you. Okay. Uh, so the most Nate, what do you think the most value we can give?
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking. Part of me wants to talk about structure of environments first to then dictate how we should position the portfolio to best meet the upcoming target audience. How do you feel about that? Like talking about centralized versus decentralized, or more specifically, how generalism fits within those models?
I think it's a good context before we dive into any of the UI stuff that we might want to talk about, and also the positioning with the copywriting.
Yeah, Taha, have you watched us before? Have you heard us talk about centralized versus decentralized environments before?
I haven't. The first time I joined was last week,
Nice.
but
Okay.
I think I might have missed it, but I haven't.
Totally fine. We talk about it fairly frequently. I have no doubt the chat is going to be like, oh God, Nate's talking about environment constraints again. But for you particularly, I think it's going to be fairly impactful. So, Tim, I'm going to take over the screen share if you don't mind here.
I, of course, don't mind.
There are a couple different flavors of structures by which an organization might design and structure their product teams.
You're sharing your stream audio.
Oh no. I don't actually know how to fix it on the fly. Let's do this. I'm just going to paste them in the chat instead. And Tim, if you want to share your screen, and then you can pull up these photos.
Sure.
Sounds
great.
There are a couple different structures by which organizations build their design teams. Now, I'm going to share two with you today, but know that there are other structures there are other flavors of these. This is what's referred to as a centralized design team. And this is what you would typically find in like a design agency. So that's you there on the left as a yellow UX designer, and know that you've got a UX manager. And that UX manager says, hey, Taha, welcome to Tuesday of work. Here's the stuff you need to work on. And then when you're done with that stuff, let me know and I'll assign you more stuff. When you're done working on that stuff, you then pass it off to the developer, the development team, who then builds that. The important thing for you to note here is that your coworkers are other UX designers and other product designers and UI designers. So you're working specifically with other design teams, and your clientele typically rotates and shifts depending on what kind of stuff you're working on that day. So in regard to not locking down to a particular industry, this format is really solid for you. But there's a conflict. Let me pause there. Is that making sense so far?
Yeah, it does.
All right, cool. There's a potential conflict with this, and that is in these teams of in these structure of teams, I don't know how, I'm just going to pass on that sentence. In this environment, a UX manager hires designers typically based on specialization. So the idea is we've already got a product team working on stuff, and we've already got Jake over there who's really good at accessibility, and we've got Joe who's really good at design systems. So as we scale our team, we want to hire people with specializations. So in this environment, specialization in a designer is typically more valuable. So a potential conflict with your desires and goals there. Okay. Now, Tim, go ahead and open up I haven't sent it to you. That would be helpful, wouldn't it? There's another structure I want to demonstrate here, and this is a decentralized design team. This is more typical of what you'd find in enterprise, large-scale corporate environments. And take a look here. You've got a UX designer who's now on an individual product team, and know that they're no longer working with other designers. Their team is now that of product managers and developers. And this graphic says other roles, but it could be things like business analysts. And in these environments, one typically works on a single solitary product. You own a particular product, and that is what you do Monday through Friday. One of the sacrifices here being is, as a UX designer here, this is much more generalistic in skill set, because you as the one designer on this team has to do all of the stuff. You have to go 0 to 1. You have to know a little bit about everything, not necessarily specializing in any one specific thing. So in regard to a skill set of generalism, this is potentially more in line. So the reason I bring up freelance, let me pause there. Is that making sense so far?
Yes, definitely.
Cool. So if like centralization, if a centralized environment sounds more up your alley, we would look for that of design agencies. If a decentralized team is more up your alley, we would look for enterprise and corporate. But the reason I bring up freelance is because it sounds like neither of these are a perfect fit for you. You're wanting industry generalization, but you're potentially also wanting skill set generalization, which doesn't mean either of these particularly fluidly. Would you say that's accurate so far?
Yes.
All right. And that's where I think freelance is potentially the best fit for you if you're open to it. That's my spiel on environments. Love talking about that stuff, the theory of things. I don't know if I've got a takeaway for you other than, as we look at the portfolio, I'm really contemplating if we should position you for the objective of scaling to freelance in the future. How does that sound to you? Feel free to challenge that. Or if you want to say like, hey, love where you're going, I love freelance, but let's really target one of those other environments for now, totally feel free to say that.
honestly, the exact same thing that I would say is love the direction, but as someone who is new to the US, I do want to get in the market, and not only the market but the culture aspect as well. So I do want to get into the industry first. Then I could probably shift to freelance and have my own thing, because I think the cultural aspect is something that I do want to learn more about and be a better designer in that aspect as well.
Got it. Would you rather work with a team of designers and have a myriad of different products, but have a specialization? Or would you rather not work with other designers and have a more generalistic skill set?
Um, as for now, like the part-time opportunity that I'm working with, I work with other designers too, but and other team members. Like one of the project we work with was Power BI experts and data scientists. And every, I would say, 3 months or 4 months after, we work on a different project from a different company. So we're moving around industries, and we're moving teammates as well. There are times where in one project there's just one designer, a UX designer, but in another project there might be four designers. So, I would love to work with other designers and sort of, it's a conflicting thing. But for now, where I'm headed, I would love to be work with other designers and, you know, move around projects.
Totally makes sense. So, Tim, let's carry on with the portfolio.
Hey,
And I'd like to, oh, Katie, welcome.
yeah, can I
Hop
can
in.
I say something also? Because with the decentralized team, you can have multiple designers though, right? Because I would say my team that I worked on was very decentralized, but we had I think I was a team of two, so
You totally can. Yeah, they're the centralized and decentralized are the two most common flavors. There are flavors in between, of which include hybrid roles that have multiple designers within individual product teams. You can totally have that.
mhm.
The catch is
So that could be an option too, I guess.
it is an option. The catch is the ability to narrow and focus down those specific roles is difficult to do when interviewing. You kind of land those roles without intention, I would say.
You also don't have to necessarily choose these right away. I'd
Hmm.
clarify. I know Nate's been talking about freelance. We don't have anything against freelance designers, but I think your hesitance to want to jump board of that is probably warranted. It was really good to meet other people and to kind of get the chance to work by a coworker and just learn new stuff and kind of bounce ideas off of until you reach a maturity where you're able to basically have a team that is versatile enough that they can be an ideas bouncing off person, and you're mature enough to know how to like communicate certain things without giving away your design power. But let's talk about your portfolio. Let's do the review part. Let's do the fun part. Nate, do you want to do landing page or want to do case study?
Well, I'm looking at the clock. Landing page is fine. It's got all the right stuff in the correct order. So I don't think there's any major friction points there unless there's something you're spying.
Yes. So one thing we really recommend: do not include design principles on your landing page.
Oh,
Your portfolio is meant to be something unique to you and should tell a story about yourself. When you include principles or like mantras that are like especially from other people, this is like anyone could put this on their portfolio, right? And
yeah.
this also doesn't necessarily communicate anything necessarily about your unique value, unless you're telling a story about it or something else. So if you want to include this, I would incorporate it into an about page, where you can contextualize this a lot more deeply. But otherwise, this does not this whole block here represents, I guess, a piece of someone else rather than a piece of you in this context.
Yeah.
We're also missing. I We love Framer. I do know this is built in Framer. And I would say one thing about Framer is you just have to be careful. Resist the urge to flip all the buttons and use all the gimmicks. You really got to
Mhm.
ask, like, what does this communicate? What value does it give? And I think most people know on a website you should scroll down. And so having a very lazy cursor item that says scroll may not be adding a lot of value, other than making it feel kind of a little bit, I don't know. I almost want to say it's like a little latent kind of feeling, and you want a portfolio to feel crisp and to feel sharp. And so I think this is maybe the wrong vibe to have here, especially with a hover state on your digital experiences. That's not really a button. Like this is an affordance. It doesn't really just like do stuff. Your mileage might vary. If you want to keep it, totally keep it. It's just something I'm thinking about, something you should be aware of. Make sure you're intentional about that kind of usage. Same thing when you have this kind of pointer here, right? This is like a mobile pointer, and typically you have pointers interact when there is interactivity and there is some kind of hover state here. The difference between these two things here, though, is not about interaction. It's not some sort of signifier about like click here or this is a different type of section. So I do think that the fact that you have multiple mouse states detracts from the usability of your area here. So just watch out for that too. And then the last thing I'll mention really quickly for you, because as Nate said, you have most of the right things in the right place. Is that your format here is breaking some of the like readability, scannability rules. People don't like to have to look from one side of the screen to the other, right? You don't want to have to flick your eyes too far. As there's actually studies that show how far away related elements should be on a horizontal scale. And what we're seeing here is that like you have this, your title right here is very long.
Okay.
It's a very long title, right? This is very long, but then you also have the button over here that's associated with it. If you think about like the F-shaped reading pattern, I might read Power BI dashboard, and then I might want to go down. And you can see that the button placement for view case study is naturally not there for me. We also are having some problems with the spacing where, depending on where I am on the page, this might look like the button for the one below it.
Oh, okay.
And so you might need some grouping here. And these images also look a little bit blurry. So I'd really watch out for this kind of things. These things might be things that throw people off or kind of automatically feel a little bit weird, especially over here. You have your work and then you have a subtitle here, selected projects. I'd really, really put this over here on your left alignment. So you have a nice little text block here, which would adhere to a little bit of better scannability for someone looking through this quickly. Now, I think, Nate, unless I'm wrong, not you're wrong. You want to get into the first case study right here?
Well, maybe. So when we were talking about different environments a moment ago, one of the things I'd be looking for if your goal was to work with other designers is some sort of specialization or theme among your case studies. For example, like if I'm hiring for a new designer already having a batch of designers underneath me, I'd be looking for what my team is missing, what skill set is lacking for my team. So I'd be looking for like, does Taha have a specialization in design systems, and do their case studies thematically revolve around design systems? So FYI, we're not seeing that just yet, and that's difficult, particularly if you're coming out of college too. Let's dive into a case study. Power BI, by the way, really cool application. It's not a sexy application, but in regard to like the enterprise and financial realm, Power BI is so impactful.
Yeah, we had a difficult time designing for it.
This is a really good one to have on your portfolio for enterprise and like larger scale companies, or companies that are trying to push past like a small medium business size into large business scale. So I would say this definitely does position you for that more centralized environment or a later stage decentralized.
It also, by the way, adjacently positions you for a little bit more job security in times of upcoming recession, where industries like finances and healthcare typically have more job stability, if those directions are at all desirable for you.
Yeah.
Let's see, I'm scanning through the case study, Tim. There are some high-level things, but overall, I'm seeing most of the correct stuff happening here. There's some finessing, though. About project research. Okay, I've got two main takeaways, I think, Tim. One is the prioritization of storytelling, and two is the prioritization of persuasive imagery. Let's talk about storytelling for a moment, Taha. Were you listening to the last case study we just reviewed in regard to one's ability to skim a case study and only read titles and still understand?
Yes.
Cool. Same feedback applies to yours. Yeah, the titles, all your title tags, the H tags, I would want to find a way to use those to tell the story. And if we were to remove all your body copy, we could still have a generalistic understanding of the case study just through your title tags. That's going to help a lot. And then the other big thing, if folk are skimming through case studies, imagery is just too powerful and persuasive to quickly consuming information, but also maintaining interest. Would love to see more imagery involved here. This case study, in general, I argue, should be closer to that of like a children's picture book than that of an essay. So 50-50 imagery to text, if not slightly more in favor of imagery. Anything you can do there would be
60-40.
fantastic. 60-40, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm also I'm noting that it's kind of like you have this wind up here, right? You have this UI up here. I've come here to look and see what your design skills are for Power BI. And then you talk about your overview. And you have, I think this is probably a pretty it's a good starting place, although you do have a few typos, maybe and some refinement. You have a research section, and then you get into more research stuff, and then you get into more research stuff, and then you get into the design, and you just do wireframes in one sentence and one image. And I think this would be a critical fault. If you got to show the process, right?
Yeah.
Make each of these its own section, right? How did you turn this one into the next one? Do a before and after. Talk about the problems or the insights. Directly tell us what is the change here. What was the value of changing between them? And it looks like you have some that you didn't select. Make that a lot more obvious and talk about why they weren't selected and the why the one you did select is superior or better. And you have like this value down here, right? But this is so disconnected from the actual thing. You should be collapsing this into here so it tells the story a little more intuitively. And then getting into your final design, you only have one screenshot for your final design. Segment this. Talk about each little section here. Make each of these give it like the treatment of like royalty. Makes this feel like a luxury thing where you're like really going through each part of it and you're obsessing over the details of like you made a little how to use this dashboard. Like we made this how to use a dashboard section because our users are going to be these kinds of people, et cetera, et cetera. Here's what the user guide does, et cetera, et cetera. And that all that kind of stuff.
Also, I have something really quickly. This is more of just like aesthetic advice just for the website itself, or the case study like itself. But I do think like there are some parts, like especially this research part, where you have just like a ton of padding, like just a ton of space, that's not really consistent throughout the rest of the case study. And then I also note that like when you change kind of categories from like research, design, testing, you use it's good to use like color to kind of like further like drive that home that like this is a new kind of section of this case study. But you kind of lose me halfway through because I just feel like there's so many different like blocks of color that are like just changing. And so like I kind of wish that I could see like more clearly like, this is the research area, this is the design area, this is the testing area.
Yeah. Okay.
I think where I'm going with this is I see a lot of the right content, or at least the underpinnings of that content, right? It might just need to be translated a little bit more maturely by expressing it a little bit more holistically. Like Nate was talking about like readability, scannability. Just knowing that like this text style, right, where this font style, where it's very very fun, is also not like very scannable, especially when you stack text on top of itself, especially when it's a blue text on another blue. And so like this information probably gets a little lost. It's also center. It's like center aligned instead of
Centered,
left
yeah.
aligned. Yeah. And so I think this like even this the content here is probably good. It's just maybe you might not be giving it justice by presenting it this way. So I'd recommend and I'd recommend using a little more consistency. Like right up here, you establish this thing of like we have content on the left side. We have information underneath it on the left side. This is very clean, right? This is good. You even have your non-disclosure agreement thing here, but it's a little small. I think you can go ahead and make this even bigger. There's nothing to be ashamed of with a non-disclosure agreement, right? I think it's also a strength if you can be like, hey, companies who hire me can trust me to have non-disclosures. That's totally fine. It's good context. You don't need to make it too tiny. And then you have a left content here, and you have left content here. But then you move into the center content. I think some consistency would help with the appearance of this whole thing and kind of making it scannable. In general,
Yeah, I
you're
almost
following
think
good
like
rules here.
if you kept it how it says like research overview, like all that, it could be like really effective. Like I think like like keeping the kind of titles to the left and then the content in the middle, maybe? I don't know.
Okay.
I've got a final thing, Tim. I've got a Notebook LM thing going on here, and then I'm also looking at the clock, and we'll have to scoot on here shortly. Taha, have you heard of Notebook LM before? The application Notebook LM.
They haven't.
It is fascinating, man. Tim, I'm going to take over the screen this time without sharing my system sound. Maybe.
Just remember, it's the little carrot by the share screen button once you've started sharing.
But I
Screen.
have to do it after I share the screen, right?
Yep. So you share the screen, then you use the carrot, then you click the checkbox.
Where's the carrot?
Have you found the checkbox?
No.
I can take a screenshot for you.
Oh, hang on.
Did you see it? You saw it?
Welcome to only hearing Nate one time.
That's
Sounding
very
better,
good.
Tim?
Very,
Cool.
very good. Yeah,
All
yeah,
right.
that sounds great.
Am I even sharing the right screen? What are you looking at?
You
Perfect. We're looking at
Zen
Notebook
browser
LM.
with an untitled notebook.
Fantastic. Taha, Notebook LM is a research tool. It's made by Google. The idea is you take any large piece of data or information that you have, you submit it to Notebook LM, and then you can generate context of stuff. For folks in the audience that aren't Taha, who have written case studies but need help with the storytelling aspect, this is the tool I would recommend to utilize for any iterations that you have. So Taha, all I've done is I've opened up Notebook LM. It asks for a source. All I've done is link it to your first Power BI case study and then told it generate a slide deck for me. And what's fascinating about this slide deck is it's pulling data directly from your case study and it's attempting to re-describe and retell the story that you're trying to tell in just a new iteration format. Now, note here, the imagery it pulls here is all generated and made up. You will recognize a lot of the quotes here from your case study, but I want you to specifically pay attention to the storytelling aspect of this. So for example, global sales intelligence transformation, migrating a global sales team from manual Excel reporting to automated Power BI dashboards. I'm going to scan through the slides here. The objective from manual chaos to chaos to automated insight. You can see it needs some finesse, but like the friction of legacy systems and then the testimonials that you had, the storytelling here is fantastic. The operational cost of manual reporting. The interface wasn't ugly, it was a bottleneck. Like phenomenal storytelling. Are you recognizing some of these quotes from your case study, Taha?
Yeah, it does match some of the things that I've mentioned there, but the way it's been redefined, it's amazing.
Right. Yeah. This tool is so good at iterating case studies and telling stories. So this is the one I generated on my personal Notebook LM. It's free to use. Feel free to go to Notebook LM and generate your own. And feel free to generate like 20 of them and see which one tells the best story. And then you can utilize this as a storytelling asset and to pull some stuff from this or not and reject however much you want. That's all I have to say about Notebook LM. Taha, we've talked for a bit now. Do you feel like you're in a place where you've got some actionables?
Oh yes, definitely. I'll go to the drawing board and fix up the content writing, the UIs, make sure everything's aligned, and I'll definitely change a few things. I've honestly gained a lot of information, so thank you for that.
Fantastic, man. Really appreciate you hopping on the call with us.
Thank you, honestly.
Tim, next up we got Beanie. Beanie, appreciate you hanging out. We're on number 3 today.
We'll try to move a little bit faster just so we can accommodate everyone who's here.
Hello guys.
Hello.
How are you guys doing?
Good, you're back.
Yes, I'm back. I made some minor changes from last time.
Okay. Well, give us a quick version of who you are and what your goals are, and then tell us about some of these changes.
So, okay, it's been 1 year since I graduated. I'm a product designer trying to find junior roles in enterprise market. Um, I need to position myself to like a specific part of the design because like I don't want to overwhelm myself right now with like learning everything. So, and I'm just thinking that I should focus on the consumer products for now. That's all I have to say for now.
Okay. Okay. Cool. Then you said you made some changes. Uh,
Tim, go ahead and
tell
share
us about
your
some of the changes
screen.
you made. Oh, I'm not sharing
Can
my
you?
screen.
Yeah.
My bad. My bad. My bad. My bad. So where is this? Uh, ah, there we go. And I'm already not sharing my stream audio.
Perfect. So the minor changes that I made was like, again, um, first for the hero section, I again removed the product designer from the sticky note and added to the actual main heading. I also added the projects on top in the nav bar to give it a quick access to the recruiters. Then
Nice.
I also added hover shades for all the projects down there. It's subtle, but not like it's not too strong, but it's a little subtle effect. Um, for inside the case studies at the end, the footer now says you can press there to go back to the home page. Uh, did not add it too much. It's just a simple add-on. And then I changed the body text here to reflect that I want to work for the consumer products.
Okay, great. I do see those changes. I remember some of those things being sticking points for us in the past.
Yeah.
Uh, Nate, do you want me to give some high level insights and feedback, or do you have something you already want to address here?
No, the I might be missing the fundamental here. What love what you've done so far. Was there a problem you were trying to resolve for this? What's your goal with today's conversation?
Um, today's goal is first, if my homepage itself is telling the recruiters what I wanna target, like what kind of products I'm targeting, and if the case studies are good enough from what you can see on the homepage, you don't even have to go inside the projects, just from the homepage.
Cool. Love that. Happy to talk about that. Tim, I'm going to pass the mic to you right after mentioning that the link in your project's navigation menu, just take off the arrow. The arrow typically indicates correctly that you've done with the other tabs. Arrow typically indicates a new tab being opened. You don't need it on that one.
For sure.
That's actually my first piece of feedback. Typically, this outgoing arrow is like external link. You'd include this to say like, hey, you click this, you're going to a new website. So you could probably just not even see if we can grab it. Can we grab this little element? You could probably just not have that element there, and it would be fine. It's still fine. It's up here on a nav bar. It works fine. Um, I th- I am not yet satisfied with this little content piece here. And so I think Nate and I will probably, and Katie will break this down a little bit more. But let's just reviewing good use of hover state. Everyone who we talked to earlier today about like mouse states, you see it. This is a meaningful change in mouse state for a good affordance about like a hover state. The choice to have the mobile cursor is still it's a preference that you will have to make, and it has its pros and cons. But there is a meaningful hover state here, which is good. We do have a little bit of a thing here, a little subheading, words are hard,
Yeah.
that tells us a little bit about the project. It looks like there might be a little typo here. We have a lowercase c when we have uppercase P and W. Um, and then this portfolio principles is still a little bit odd to have here because it is like a blog post versus these are case studies. So this probably needs to go somewhere else. And then just even in your footer, you do have interaction here. But as we talked about, you do have a meaningful hover state that's signified there that I think it's okay. We still have a little bit of a UI kind of weird game. Let me see if I can I scroll? Can I zoom in here? Maybe. We have a little bit of a weird UI gimmick with how this grid fits into here that we're still seeing. You can kind of see it doesn't like quite line up or match. I say that with compassion because I've had problems with
Yeah.
grids as well in my own portfolio. And so it's tough. That's like a tough one to deal with. Just
Yeah.
keep in mind it might be the breakpoint that we're looking at or the responsive nature of that grid that's making it do that. Just something to kind of watch out for.
So it's
And then
like
if we click in,
it's like an SVG image that I made in the Figma for the whole grid. And so when the whole viewport resizes, it like moves completely. So I
gotcha.
don't know how to control the whole thing.
You might want to just have it centered then, so that way it at least cuts off asymmetrically on both sides
For,
rather than being
for sure, for
asymmetrical.
sure.
I would say you do have a back button at the top of a case study. Um, I think the back button is valuable, but on a website, this is the back button. And so
Mm,
I do think maybe you should, I would just label this home or kind of give it a little bit of a better idea of where you go to,
okay.
especially if it doesn't take you back to where I actually started, because I started here, right, on this part of your page. If I
Yeah.
click back, I'd assume to go back to the same spot when that's not the case.
Mm,
You see, back button works here, whereas this is not actually a true back button. So I just rename this home or back to work or something like that. Give it a little more description. You have lots of room. It's a website. It
for
can do
sure.
that. Are these also videos on a scroll? Are these scrolling videos?
No, not all of them are videos. It's only one or two, and then others are like final screenshots.
Okay. Let's just make sure since we learned from it looks like this is gonna have a hard time on mobile. Um, just something to watch out for. And then I do love this idea of having this, but I think that you're anytime you have interactivity, like you have controls here, right? There's
Yeah.
controls inside of this, but those controls can scroll away. Or, if I was on here, I might have to drag, might need to drag this across.
Yeah.
This could present a challenge, and that's just something to watch out for. There might be a UX thing here. I'd want to do some research personally to make sure. But that's kind of cool. It's cool. It's cool that you've got something there. Videos are a really powerful storytelling element. Uh, I think that's my high level feedback on the things that you have explicitly mentioned that you changed.
For sure, for sure.
I don't have anything to add. I think all the adjustments you've made are improvements. I agree with Tim that the value prop is still in a state where it's generic enough that other folk can utilize it on their portfolio and it still makes sense. Value props come with advantages and sacrifices. It's that sliding scale of how
Yeah.
focused and how generic you want to be. And now it's just figuring out where along that scale you want to be. Generic
Mm.
could be your play. Tim and I would argue more focus would be better.
Yeah, I want to be more focused. I've been applying for like almost a year. Been generic my whole time. So I want to be really, really specific this time around.
Yeah, there is a. Let me pull up another graphic here. I don't think I've shared this graphic in the past with these conversations, and I forget where I got this particular one. Uh, the general theory that we're following here is, and now it's pasted in the chat, is that the more generic one's branding is, the larger the job market available is. So you can apply for all of the jobs with no constraints. The hurdle is you're also competing with all of the other people applying for those jobs. The more focused your value prop is, or the more niche you're attempting to tackle, the fewer jobs are available, but dramatically fewer people are also applying for those jobs. And the generalistic people that are applying for those jobs are weaker compared to your positioning, so you'll beat them out. We would heavily argue the more focused and targeted you can be, the better. Now it's just figuring out what is that target, what is that niche, and where do you find your career path going in the future. All really tough conversations to have.
Yeah. Right, right. I think that's pretty much it for me today. Like, I did not want it to get too much feedback. I just wanted to know like the improvements made some sense, and if this is good enough. If I need to be more specific, so I guess I need to be more specific.
Yeah, and some good tips on making this specific. I think we've talked about this. I don't want to beat it to death, but like talking about your who you're working for,
Yeah.
why you're doing those things, and then maybe some of the specific stuff about what kind of skills or value you bring, especially about your impact. So we have I design scalable consumer products. Uh, this is choosing a little bit of a niche, but it's still pretty broad, where clarity, trust, and speed matter most. Clarity, speed, trust, and speed have not differentiated you that much. Most people want trust, clarity, and speed. And we have reducing friction. Okay, so that is a UX thing. So this is a specifically you focus on maybe the friction part of UX and product design at high stakes moments, like purchasing, navigation, and real time decision making. So, purchasing, that is specific. Navigation, probably not very specific, and real time decision making, also not very specific. So, within this, everything here still appeals to a very broad audience. I think these this is not defining you. This is not making you any more unique than maybe you already were.
For sure, makes sense. And also, okay, should I have the say hello button for like the emailing stuff, or should I just remove it completely?
Oh, this is always a tough one. There's two things at play. As I say a lot, I'm very fond of saying this. Put buttons, use buttons to tell people where to go. You know, if you use a button, make sure that button tells them what the right place to go is. So, the opinion possibly of your landing section here is that
Yeah.
the right thing that I should do with the information that you've given me is to say hello and email you. Now, what you have to evaluate is has your trust ladder completed enough information and trust in the user to convince someone to take a high friction item of leaving your website to send you an email and to not explore your website anymore. And that's the thing, right? That's a hard thing. And if you give them this information and I'm like, oh, they want me to say hello, but I don't want to email him right now, uh, then I might never come back to that, right? I might just move on and never email you or ever say hello. And so it can be effective to include CTAs. We've seen this in like free trials or like any sort of purchasing stuff, right? Is that you show value, then you upsell. Essentially, you show value and then you give them a CTA or an action to take. In this case,
Yep.
I don't think you've shown enough value to merit most people taking this action of saying hello. It doesn't mean you should remove it. It just means that you might want to give a secondary button here that quantifies that, like there's multiple right answers. You could say hello, or you could come look at my work first. Uh,
Mm,
and you might just want to kind of spread this out and make it feel a little more gentle.
makes sense.
If I were to yes and that, I pasted a value prop that I just wrote in the chat, and I wanted to provide the example of like a dramatically specific one, hoping that it shows you the ends of the spectrum that you can hopefully find somewhere in the middle. The value prop I wrote, I'm a product designer helping dental practices automate their scheduling process. Who you are, what you do, the target audience, the benefit that the audience receives. Very specific, right? So somewhere, ideally your value prop would be somewhere closer to that, but potentially in the middle somewhere.
That makes sense.
And then you tell them the value of that, right? So get more patients in less time and money.
Mm,
My tiny bit of it. You're basically telling them what they get when they get you. So if I get you, I get more patients.
that actually makes a really good point. Like,
Yep.
it's good. I mean, you're right. I need to add that what they're getting. Like, I have that skills about what they are getting.
Yeah, and my one caution to this win as well is that if you go too deep on what you're getting, you suddenly enter a world where you're competing for fractional and freelance roles
Yeah.
versus full time roles, and so
Mm,
just make sure like this, uh, get more patients in less time is like a very specific problem, maybe too
yeah.
specific for most people. Like, what if I'm a dental practice and actually my problem is not related to getting patients in a certain amount of time? And then like, oh, I guess this person's the wrong person for it. So just make sure you
Mm.
choose your impacts very carefully. But own it when you have it. You own it. Uh, how do you feel about all of our feedback today so far? Um,
It's good. It's good. I mean, I can work on to making it more specific. That's the next step for the portfolio, I guess. But yeah,
Okay,
thanks
great.
for helping.
100%. It was good to see you today. Thanks for coming back. We appreciate that. Second time around means that we're not
Yep,
horrible at this, right?
third time as well.
Next on the list, we've
It's
got
just
Okay,
nice.
Menindu, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Menindu, if you're out there, raise your hand.
I got him already.
Nice.
I got you.
Hey guys,
Hello.
hello,
Welcome.
hi. Thank you so much having me there.
Yeah, absolutely. We're happy to have you. Can you tell us how to say your name?
So I'm Minidu. I'm from Sri Lanka. Right now I have 2 years of experience in design, and
It's
right
so
now I'm
it's Minidu.
yes, it's Minidu. Yeah, you pronounce it correct.
Minidu. Minidu. Okay.
Hey, okay. So I'm currently doing a full-time job in a company called HRC Labs, and also I do some freelance work for the clients as well. So I would love to, especially when I'm working with the clients, I would love to understand their business goal and tailor my designs to that goal. So that's something about me.
Very cool. And then I'm seeing here that you're a product designer. Do you are you looking for full-time, freelance, agency? In what industry would you be hunting for?
Right now, I'm working with some clients in freelance basis. Uh, and it comes what I'm right now looking for is, yeah, more freelance work because I can get full ownership of the design process. So I would love,
Freelance work. Okay, very cool.
yeah.
Hmm. I think you might have a broken image right here. Your profile avatar.
Oh, yeah.
That's a small thing. Oh, maybe it just didn't load. Ah, there we go. Okay. It's just lazy loading. Interesting. Um, Great. So, how can we help you today? What are some of your goals and maybe some actionable ways we might be able to
Yeah,
be there
so
for you?
this portfolio is kind of a test version. I don't have any case studies listed here. So today I'll be looking for some help for cater some case studies and how I can write those things because I have some projects in my hand where I can write some case studies. And also, I just want to uh, deliver the message that I can understand your business goal and I can align with them and I can deliver what you want. Something like that.
When it comes to if one's goal is to get hired as a full time employee at an organization, big or small, then we typically have target audiences of recruiters, hiring managers, those folk, right? You don't have those target
Mhm.
audiences. Case studies are phenomenal for describing and communicating with hiring managers and recruiters. Real lackluster in terms of communicating with potential clientele on a freelance basis. Your users aren't going to care what your process looks like or the intricacies of how you scale practices. They much more care about themselves. So they're interested in things like how can you scale my business? How can you maximize my goals and solve my business problems? With that mindset, I don't think you need case studies at all. You could potentially have a showcase describing, like, here are things that I have built in the past, but you don't have to go in detail about what that intrinsic process was that you utilized to solve those problems.
Mhm.
I will disagree actually with Nate. Hard
Really? It's
disagree.
happening.
Yes. So I think when you talk about case studies and when you're doing freelance work, okay, uh, we have to think about funnels, right? So when you're trying to get a job as a full-time employee, your funnel looks like applying to jobs, talking to recruiters, talking to hiring managers, and then talking to senior people until you get an interview. So you have a very V-shaped funnel, right? Where the top of the
Mhm.
funnel is applications getting discovered, the bottom of the funnel is interviews. For
Mhm.
freelance work, a lot of times it is more about one you might be posting on social media. So your top of funnel is like social media posts. It could be you're getting discovered organically. People are searching for services and they find you, or even like word of mouth stuff. And so there's the types of things you need to do to optimize for that type of top funnel is very different from your normal funnel top. And the middle though still looks a little bit similar in that you have people who are going to come look at your stuff. When I'm a recruiter looking at it, should I hire this someone full time? I have a shopping list. When I'm a client who's wondering, should I hire this guy for a project? I have a very specific problem I'm trying to solve. And I may not know the right words to solve that problem. Like I might not know, like, oh, we have a problem with conversion. I might just instead think, oh, I want more people to buy my product, right? I want people to add things to their shopping carts more often. And as a designer, I'd be like, well, that's about like conversion and trust and maybe some friction and also like information architecture. But none of those words are going to be anything to most of the clients. So when I craft a story as a freelancer and I craft a story to help a client want to choose me, it is much more focused on here are some problems that resonate with you that I'm going to solve for. And when we frame this as a problem to solution, and I am the solution, we see that this is actually very similar structure to case studies at a high level, even though the content's going to look very different, right? Because the problem that recruiters are going to solve is they're looking for specific skills, right? Whereas a client is looking for specific situations, very situational, like and like specific outcomes, and maybe like I'm losing all the words, but I think you're still going to need case studies. Your case studies are just going to need to be targeted at a very different audience. Do you already know who your audience is?
Not actually.
Okay, well that is item number one for you to figure out. If you're going to go freelance, you basically have to self-select the people you want to present your top of funnel to. Because if you're just a freelance product designer who does everything, right? You do a little bit of everything. Your service area is going to suffer a lot. You have no specificity and you're going to have a hard time finding people who are interested in the specific solutions that you can provide, right? Because if I'm a client looking for freelance, I need to solve a very specific problem in a very specific situation. Unless you want to have 100 case studies, and you're like, here's all the 100 different things I solve across different industries, which some agencies can do, it becomes very difficult to like garner things like that. And so I guess you just have to recognize that, like, when you are looking for a role as a full-time employee, you are a quiver of arrows. But when you are a freelancer, you are essentially the single arrow. And you have to know what problem you are meant to solve very, very clearly. You're also going to need, like I said, your top funnel stuff is going to involve things like making sure your website architecture is very good. So like having good titles, good SEO, canonicals, making sure your headings are all in the right place, making sure your accessibility stuff is good with alt text. And then your trust ladder is going to be important as well, and making sure you can highlight quickly value that is going to be persuasive for people to want to reach out to you. Because for most, I don't know if you know this, but a lot of people who are looking for freelancers are very busy people, and booking a call can be kind of intimidating, and also very just takes a long time, right? It takes time out of their day, and so you need to convince them that you're going to be the person. Give them as much information as you can before they have to make that choice about purchasing you. I've talked a lot, but I'm gonna pause there, right? How do you feel about that so far?
Yeah, I have a question there. Like, you said previously, I should understand who is my audience is. Like, when you telling that, like, what you mean by the audience? Like, is that the industry that I would like to work, or is that a specific area that I would like to solve some problems? Can you give me a answer for that?
So like you're asking about like how do you choose a niche?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Is it a specific industry that I would like to work on, or like,
Yeah. So we have an exercise for this. We're gonna do this pretty
okay,
quickly.
that's interesting.
So yeah, so we're gonna do exercise. We've done this. I've done this a couple times here. You're gonna do an exercise where you basically set a column, set up a table, and column number one at the top is gonna be people, this is all about your history, right? People you have worked for. So over the years, over your life even, who are, you're going to think about things that you've loved doing. So this is people you've loved working for, or you like them, you enjoy their company, you enjoy being around them. You're going to make a second column. Oh, wow. I don't know why that's stuck there. You're going to think about people you can provide value to. This is like people you can measurably improve. You have skills here, right? And then the last one is going to be about money. Can they afford me? Can they pay for me? So when you use this exercise, this is one way to help identify historically where your skills are, what you like doing, and then what the value relative to a monetary standpoint is. And then you're just going to list things from your past or your history, people you've worked for, industries you've worked for, types of companies, and you're going to look for patterns inside of this. So an example is maybe when I got out of college, or maybe when I was in college, I worked for a nonprofit company, right? I'm just going to call it nonprofit A. So it's just non NA. We're going to call it nonprofit A though. It was just a company I was working for in college. And I actually I didn't like the people there because they had no organization. And that was really hard. So that was a really hard time. But I had skills. I had a degree. I could actually do good work for them. But also they're a nonprofit. Could they afford what I wanted to do? No, they couldn't. And now I can see like, okay, well, this is one type of company I don't want to target in the future. So I'm not going to work for these people. But maybe there was a enterprise company in the past that I liked a lot, or maybe there's a company I really admire. Some people really want to work for the Big Apple. This is my version of the Apple logo. I mean, it's kind of there, right? It's kind of. But some people might be like, "Oh, it'd be so cool to be a designer for Apple." But think about, what do you know about Apple? Do you think you would like being on an Apple team? Yes or no. And you have to say, all right, yes or no. Would they do that? And you'd say, do I have skills? Do I have the right skills to make Apple better as a company? You have to say yes or no. And then you're going to look over at the monetary value. Can Apple afford what I do and pay me? And that's a big yes for Apple in this case. But in general, if you follow an exercise like this, follow an exercise like this as you think about different niches or people you want to work for, interests you have. Like maybe in the past you're like, yeah, I'd want to work in medical technology, or maybe I want to work in fintech. Just think about all these different categories and say like, what I actually like being on a team, the processes that they work with, the people who work there, what I like that. Do I have the right skills to actually do something there? And then can they afford to pay? And this is going to be how you essentially weed out people who are not part of your niche and people who would be within your ability to niche down and to focus on. And then you say, what are the problems? What are the problems that I solve for these companies that are worth money that I can deliver? And those become the things you focus on. That's your golden apple.
Yeah, yeah, understood. Thank you so much.
Tim and I love talking
I
about
need a drink of water.
honing down one's messaging and target audience. High level, target audience is a selection, a group of people that you're attempting to solve problems for. The more specific you can be, the better. Now, when I say have a focused target audience, most people think, well, that means I'm limiting myself to the greater world out there. And that is accurate in some fashion. So, like if we were to only say you're a product designer for dentists, you now sacrifice all the other industries that you're designing for. However, if anybody needs a website that is a dentist, you are very persuasive at being that person. So when we say focus, that's what we're describing. Most people think about it in terms of being limiting, but then a second thing happens. And that is when you are able to narrow down your focus and have a target audience, your overhead dramatically reduces. You can now specialize in having products designed for dentistry. You don't need to do research anymore because you've already done all the research 1,000 times. The products that you have specifically designed for your clientele are now targeted toward them. All the effort that it takes, think about all the effort it would take to start the design process from every individual client from different industries. Remove all of that and just focus on one, and you can now really scale a product quickly. From an efficiency perspective, target audiences are really great.
Okay.
An alternative version of this is if there are specific questions or problems that you love solving. For example, maybe you like solving churn. Churn is what you describe as users leaving a platform after they've purchased something. So you like, I help people solve churn. Then you can say, all right, this is the problem I solve. Who has this problem? And then you do your exercise of, here's the people who have the problem. Here's the value I can solve. Here's people who can afford to pay me for solving this problem. These are the people I target. So if you have like a favorite problem that you like to solve, or types of work that you like to focus on, you can also go the top end, right? So you don't have to start necessarily from blank. You can just start with the types of problems that you're aware of that need to be solved, that you're good at solving.
Yeah, that's a good insight.
We've thrown a
I
lot
really
at you.
don't ever,
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
yeah, what is yeah, I really didn't know about how to. Actually, I didn't know about I should have my unique audience right now, so I didn't know it. And that exercise was really cool. I should try it.
Yeah, note that this is all being recorded on YouTube. So there's a link in the chat. I can plop it in there again, but you can go back and watch this just to get a refresher on it as well. We've thrown a lot
Yeah.
at you. How you feeling about all of that? Do you feel like you've got some takeaways and some potential actionables?
Yeah. So this is my first time actually. I just got a notification that this feedback Friday is happening, and just I hopped up. So this is the real good day for me.
Fantastic, man. Hey, really appreciate you being here and hanging out with us, particularly for the first time. It's a scary thing to do, and I really appreciate you taking that step.
Thanks so much. I'll come with a different one next time.
Say that one more time.
Yeah. I'll come with a more improved version of my portfolio next time. Then we
Fantastic.
can have yeah.
Looking forward to it.
If you plan on doing that, one other thing to think about is an exercise that's worth doing is asking, what questions does someone have before they purchase, right? So if like a common question is like, should I hire this freelancer? And then you might say, well, this person probably is going to ask me this question. Is there a way you can answer the question on your website so that way they have the answer ready to go, which will move them one step closer to booking that call with you? So another thing you could think about if you wanted to work on that. But we're grateful for you. We're glad to see you. Nate, who is up next?
Well, we've got two folk on the list. One is Arslan, and I'm not seeing them in the chat if they're here. Arslan, if you're here, raise your hand. If they're not here, we've also got Omar Macmillan next, but I'm not confident I'm seeing them. By the way, here is
I
a
see.
link.
So after Minadu, I see Omar and I see Macmillan. I do not see the other person though. that you
Okay, well,
mentioned.
I don't think they're here anyway, so it worked out. Is Omar
Okay,
a
okay.
different person than Macmillan? I think I may have just combined those usernames.
They are to me.
That makes sense. So we're looking for Omar then, but I don't know that I see them in the audience either.
I invite them to the stage.
Oh, you
Omar,
already
if you're
found him.
here, join the stage.
Yes. Hi everyone. Can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome. Glad you could be here. Tell us a little bit about the problem you're trying to solve today.
All right, cool. So my name is Omar. I'm based in United Arab Emirates, and I'm a product designer. Like right now, working mainly in e-commerce. So I'm working in like a retail company. Like they have more than 17, 18 brands under their portfolio. So I just shared my portfolio link with you guys. It's still work in progress. I just want you guys like to take a look and just like tell me like what sites, like what things that can be improved, and like what should I do. And I have a couple of problems. Like for example, right now I work on a lot of projects on my current company, okay, and for like very big brands, like international brands, like something like Starbucks, H&M, American Eagle, and like these type of brands. The problem is that I'm facing right now. I don't have solid data to showcase into my case studies. for example, when we are handling a brand, we are just redesigning their, let's say, their international website to fit the MENA market. Okay. However, like we don't have like a tangible like data after the launch, or so I don't have that data to showcase to people. So, but I really want to show like I've been working with these brands or with these clients. So how to solve this problem?
I'm not sure I fully understand the problem. Let me repeat it back to you, and then you can correct me. Am I hearing that you work at an organization that has lots of different clients, but you don't have the metrics to be able to speak to the impact of those projects? Is that sounding right?
Yes, exactly.
Do you have any constraints, any NDA or anything in there?
Not really. Like kind of, but for example, like these projects will be on my like private portfolio. So for example, if I want to show someone, I'm gonna share like password and something like that. But I still don't have these metrics like to showcase in my like case studies. So I'm just trying to figure out how to solve this problem in my
Cool.
case studies.
Understood. Tim and I have talked about this a bunch. Love to talk more about this. Uh, I'm hearing a couple of things. Take a take a shallow look at your portfolio, see if there's any high risk things or any gotchas that we can find. Two, talk about metrics and how to build a case study based on impact. Um, is that sounding right so far?
Yes, it
Cool.
does.
And then I think the only other fundamental I'm missing is what's the objective of your portfolio? Like, are you looking to get hired elsewhere? Are you looking to pivot? What are you trying to do with it? What kind of feedback are you looking for?
So to be honest, for example, right now I'm just looking for feedback from like senior designers, like you guys. I'm not trying to like change my current job or anything. I'm just like trying to just to gather some feedback about my portfolio.
Okay, that's fine. It limits our ability to provide actionable feedback because we have different rhetoric
Yeah,
depending
yeah.
on the target audience, of course. But we can take a high level look at things.
Okay, cool.
Tim, I haven't scanned through just yet. Have you taken a look and do you already have feedback prepped?
I have a little bit of feedback. Um, it is a little bit more on the generic side, um, which is unfortunate. So one thing I'm seeing is your aesthetic. Your aesthetic works. It's clean. You've got everything in a single column. It's consistent. I would say most people would probably find this to be pleasing to look at. And in that regard, I think you have succeeded there. Um, it is interesting to think about your CTAs though. Your contact button is not a contact button. It is a scroll to a section that is now the contact section. If you have a contact button, I would probably make it worth, I think it'd probably be worth just attaching your contact information to it rather than having two clicks. It's already a high friction item to want to click contact someone, and then to make me do it again twice in a row may not be in your best interest. You have an abnormal navigation bar here at the bottom. Some people are not going to be able to find this. I'm curious if you have any metrics that you're already tracking on your website. I didn't see any analytics platform attached to your website inside of your code, so I'm not sure if you have something that's tracking analytics for you. But I'm wondering how many people actually find your navigation bar and click on stuff like your about page, etc. Especially since none of those pages are apparent on the default state here. It's a nav bar that only shows up as you scroll.
Yep.
You do have very picturesque. These kind of all fit together, right? You're showing some UI. You've got a consistent theme of gradients between all of them, with the difference this one has a hand here. Your descriptions per item here, though, is not very descriptive, right? We're seeing the name of a brand and then a tagline, probably for the brand, right? Versus, and so this is basically selling me on this item, right? You want to sell me Cash Bud, but I'm not here to buy Cash Bud. I'm here to buy Omar, right? I want Omar, not Cash Bud. And so I think you're missing out on the opportunity to maybe tell a story about the value that you did that is represented in some work you may have done for Cash Bud. And typically we would recommend making these very descriptive in that regard. So like Cash Bud, instead of saying the brand, you say like what like impact that I am creating, uh, and then by what I do for people like like Cashbud, right? So this becomes a little bit more powerful in that you're outlining like for Cashbud, I did this thing. Because right now I actually don't know. I don't know the work you did for Cashbud. Like there's nothing that's persuading me to click on this other than the prettiness of this picture, which is a little bit hard to see anyways. They're small pictures, right? I don't know which part of the picture to look like. Did you build this entire app ground up? There's just some gaps here before I want to click on these and understand them. You do have a section in here for your skills that are accordioned. I can't. There's not like anything necessarily wrong with doing this as long as your content isn't overly generic, which it does look pretty basic. I would say this is reusable on most people. Maybe to the point like this could have been templated. All right, I design user experience. I design user-centered experiences by understanding user needs, defining flows, and creating intuitive solutions that solve real problems. This is like this is like the white bread for UX design. This is like what everyone does. The planes to the plane for what UX design is. And so there's not really any value here. Um, it's just a feature. It's just a feature on your page. Do you have a little bit of your work process? I think that's okay. And then you have your journey here. I don't know if this sells me necessarily on you because I'm here covering like your work and stuff, but it is here. And then some articles and stuff with more freelance questions. It's a very long page overall, though. Like it is quite long, especially if I was on mobile. Like I'm gonna have to scroll for kind of a while to get here if I don't have the super scroll on. And I'm wondering if you do have your anchor here at the bottom for contacting, and you do have your navigation bar at the bottom. So I guess if someone gets to the bottom, they'll notice that. Um, I'm curious though if you already have analytics for this. Do you know where people spend their time on your website?
To be honest, no. It's just still work in progress. And if you notice, like on my like case studies, I haven't linked it to any like a sub page or anything like that. It's just go to the live version of the app or sometimes Behance. So, but it's still work in progress. But I got what you mean. Like for example, first of all, don't make the content very generic. Like I agree with you. I just like type something and I just put it there. I didn't like think much about it. The second thing is the like for the projects, why I just put the titles. I just felt it would be like much more simpler for the people just to like read the title of the project and then like they're interested, they can just like click on it. And the subtext is just like a small description about the project. But you are right. Like when you are writing right now, like I can see 50% increase. That really will deliver more value for the people rather than just putting just the title of the project.
I love where Tim's going with this example that he's writing here. He's
Yeah,
writing
I
the
can see.
title. Yeah, the title of the case study in this case, 50% increase in food delivery and user conversion for local. This is the why the effort was done and the benefit that the user receives after it's done. From a storytelling perspective, that's super persuasive. And then for the subtext that Tim is writing, I'm going to speculate. Ooh, do I speculate first? I didn't want to bias him.
Speculate first.
I was going to speculate
Yeah,
that he was
speculate
about
first.
to write the how one had achieved the why.
Yeah.
So in this case, it could be like building a design system that enable our team to scale, blah, blah, blah. So imagine you are a recruiter or a hiring manager taking a look at a case study. They want to look at a case study relevance to the problems that they're trying to solve. They can't currently do it by looking at your current homepage. But the way Tim's writing it, they would be able to. So now they're able to funnel down, you're able to funnel the user right to the content that they're trying to find. Hey, let me ask
Yeah.
you, your case studies, I only clicked on the first one. It links to Behance. Case study wise, it's beautiful, man. It looks great. Why is it on Behance? Are you still transitioning it to your website?
Uh, yes, to be honest. Basically, I this website I'm just coding it right now, just vibe coding it, as people like all people are doing right now.
Nice.
So I'm just trying to link it to like it's basically it was a template. Then I just recode it in React JS. So, but right now I'm just building the other pages. For example, like I don't want these case studies to link to to Behance or Dribble or something like that. I just want them to be in my website. So
Yeah,
I'm still building that.
you're ahead of us there. So many benefits to moving away from Behance to your personal site. You're already doing it. We don't have to talk deeper about it.
Yeah. So the second problem is like I told you, like I don't have like metrics to
Metrics,
like enough metrics to show to
impact.
on this case.
Tim, we've had this is a conversation that we've had a myriad of times, and I don't know the best place to start it. I have a conversation around measuring user behavior instead. It sounds like you've got a conversation around, well, we actually can get metrics in adjacent ways. Do you have a preference here of how that conversation begins, specific to Omar?
Um, the one thing that triggered me is you said like you don't have the specific numbers, but you've made some decisions. And right there, I was like, aha, he's lying. Because the reality is, if you have made decisions, you have rationale for those decisions. And when you have rationale for decisions, there is basically a paper trail. And you just have to quantify your rationale. You just have to say, what was the reason I did this? I did this because it makes it better. Okay, but like it makes it better, sure, but can you go deeper than that? You say it makes it better because it improves the ability to sell something. Like, okay, well, what was that selling actually worth? Just kind of going down that chain, right? So that's where I would start. And I'm sure Nate's gonna blow it away.
No, I love everything about there. In fact, my conversation is basically just a yes and to that. Omar, one of the things that I utilize at my 9 to 5 for context, I work in the healthcare space, and the stuff that we work on is internal and complex enough that getting impact measurable metrics is tough in this position. So, how do we validate success and move forward with any sort of validation? And the way we are currently doing that is through user behavior changes. So, for example, I work on internal software. I'm unable to say something like, well, we built this solution and it saved us 20% in conflict resolution. But I can instead say, by building this feature, we're now able to move analysts out of the need for Excel and into this new automated system. So a behavior has shifted. And by measuring behaviors, we can still validate direction and momentum with the application. So let me mirror this back to you. Omar, with your what's your first case study here? CashBud. When you
Yeah.
worked on this, were there any outcomes that shifted how a person behaves throughout their day?
So I will like the first
Say that
if
again?
we if we can talk about the second, like the first project is still not yet live,
Oh,
so that users can't like use it yet. But we can talk about the second one or the third one
yeah,
if
locals?
you like.
Sure. Yeah, if you want to talk about any behavior changes that had occurred thanks to your building locals, what were those behavior changes?
Yes. So basically, before locals, so this project, specific project, was done in Kuwait. Okay, so like because I'm based in Gulf and MENA, that like I just work like in these markets. So it was it's based in Kuwait, and before locals, for example, the so locals was built for the people who have small businesses in their homes. For example,
Okay. And what problem are the users solving by using locals? Omar, did we lose you? Earth to Omar. Omar! Uh-oh. We may have lost him.
That's really sad.
oh, I don't know, maybe my network is not working.
Oh, Omar, you're
Oh, that's
back.
Okay, so sorry guys. So, but like, what I'm trying to say is like we solved the problem for these local like small businesses we just provided a platform for them just to use, to be able to use it to sell online rather than just like relying on social media and stuff like that.
I'm hearing behaviors already. Business owners no longer need to rely on social media to sell their products. Business owners now have the ability to sell their product online. Business owners now have increased outreach by being able to reach a larger audience. That last one was a little redundant, but you get the idea, yeah? That those are behaviors that have shifted.
Yes, yes, yes.
Those are success metrics. They're not hard metrics, these are soft metrics, but those are things that validate that you are succeeding in solving a problem. Now, I think where Tim will go with this conversation is the metric is now users now have, small business owners now have the ability to move away from social media and provide their own e-commerce site. Tim will argue, can we turn that into a hard metric? What's the value of that metric? Am I saying that correctly, Tim?
I think so. And especially once you start to understand your chain, it's like not a chain of command, but like if you say like this is a soft metric mode, so like for example, making user like yeah, just exactly that. Sorry, I was looking at a book reading list for someone in the chat. Um, Turn it into a hard metric by understanding what metrics matter to your clients and to businesses. And once you can say like, here is a business metric that people care about, like here's a KPI that a business cares about. How does the thing I worked on influence that KPI or that business decision? And by what scale does it actually impact it? And then you start making predictions. Business is all about predictions. You know, you talk about like any business annual planning meeting, it's about like making a prediction based on good data, right? So the better data you have, the better your prediction is. But at the end of the day, it is still a prediction. So you can say, like, I worked on this part to increase this KPI for a business, and I'm estimating it probably had an impact around this much, which would be worth, this selection of what their market is like.
Know that everything we're describing really easy to talk about and say on paper. You actually accomplishing it much tougher to do, and every designer goes through this struggle. So know that while we're talking about it with short breaths, you will have some friction in trying to figure this out, and we all do. It's going to be tough, but you got this, man.
Right. Thanks. Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me.
Omar, really appreciate the time. I hope we gave you a little bit of actionable here. Would love to have you come back and we can take a look at where your website is in a week from now, 2 weeks, a month from now.
Cool, no problem. I'm gonna like step back and do some rework on it, and I'll let you know, guys.
Tim, I am
Sounds
looking
great. Sounds
at,
great.
oh, I'm looking at our list.
Thanks.
We technically have one more on our list, but in regard to timing, I don't know that we have time for it today. Macmillan, if you're out there, I'm so sorry we didn't get to you in time. Is Macmillan still there? Maybe it's not a big loss.
Let me check. Let me see if they're here.
I see an M.
I'm
I think I'm in streamer
Scroll,
mode
scroll,
where
scroll.
Discord is truncating usernames, so I can't see a lot of them by default. I'll have to turn that off.
Interesting. Yeah, that does make it. They are not in the call anymore.
Well, look at
That one
that.
is gone.
The universe hath spoken. Friends, really appreciate all of your faces today. We do this every Friday, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We talk about resumes, portfolios, a whole lot of portfolios today, not a single resume, and that's okay. Would love to see you in every single Friday upcoming from now. Tim, do we have... Oh, let me also link for those before you take off. I have a YouTube channel. Everything is being live streamed on there. If you subscribe to that and you can't make a Friday, you'll still be able to watch it. But also, if you take a look at the live tab on that YouTube channel, you see all of the past events with some gaps in the middle. But yeah, you get a bunch of content on there. Tim, do we have any office hours today?
I'm trying to think. I had something planned for office hours and it fell through. So now our after hours, I'm not sure if we actually have anything. Does anyone want to talk about stuff? Any weird takes or things going on? I guess we'll end the stream. But thanks everyone for being here. We're so grateful for you. We love doing this. We are all about the community. So Let us know, I guess, if we did a bad job, if we hurt anyone's feelings or something. That's not exactly that, but make sure we want to do this to help everyone here, right? So if this is helpful for you, that's exactly what we're aiming for. If there's ways we can make it even more helpful, that's what we want to know. So feel free to give us some feedback. Let us know. Otherwise, I guess we're gonna end the call in just a minute or two here. Just 1 minute early, and no after hours topic. I just don't really have anything to talk about today. CS 2026. I don't actually know a lot about it. I'll be honest. It's not
Me
something I
either.
pay attention to. I know there's content creators who really enjoy it, but I don't really have anything on it. It's cool. Some people are there. Some people are. I think Grace is there right now. Actually, Grace is actually at the event, so she's been posting on her LinkedIn. Go to Grace's LinkedIn, promote her content, see what she's talking about with CS 2026.
Yeah. Also, keep an eye out. We do Feedback Friday every Friday, but Design Buddies has other things going on. There was just a lecture yesterday on international visas. Also, keep an eye out for upcoming book club, being rejuvenated, coming back to the realm. Don't know any details about that just yet, but keep an eye out for that.